Now, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has warned party members about what he calls a potential systematic fightback that can emerge after the South African government took Israel to the International Court of Justice. Ramaphosa says the fightback could be both internationally as well as domestically. The president made the prediction in his closing remarks at the ANC Lekgotla at the Birchwood Hotel in Boksburg, Ekurhuleni. Now, the Lekgotla followed the party's NEC meeting, which was also held at the weekend. Let's now speak to UJ Professor of Politics, International Relations, Professor Siphamandla Zondi. Prof, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Appreciate it. Ramaphosa saying that this fight back is likely to manifest in the run-up to the national and provincial elections. Let's talk about how much of a reality this is.
Yes, good afternoon. It is not in the realm of impossibility that there could be a fight back. The stance by South Africa, the step by South Africa to put Israel and therefore the supporters of Israel, which is the powerful countries of Europe and North America, before the ICJ for trial on possibility that the actions of Israel in Gaza constitute a move towards a genocide, was a test of the relationship and power and contestation between the two sides. Those who believed there wasn't, Israel had a legitimate right to do whatever it was doing, and those who believed Israel has long exceeded any measure of self-defense. Once the court ruled the way it ruled, South Africa and those states that believed that there was something wrong taking place there felt vindicated. Of course, those who are with Israel, including Israel itself, felt hard done by. Now, what happens is, beyond then the use of the court to fight out this battle, it's just very normal for big states to also migrate the battle into misinformation, disinformation area, propaganda, and also move it into covert operations such as interfering in elections of other countries to change regimes that they see as inconvenient to their positions, or overt operations such as military interventions, though the latter is less and less likely in this and in many cases these days. So there is that possibility that the battle over Israel and its relationship with the Palestinians can be taken to all those routes, including subverting the particular government of South Africa that took the step and try and assist a transition to another government that may not follow through in this step or abandon this whole battle to try and defend the cause of the Palestinians.
So he says then that, the backlash is likely to come from superpowers who support Israel. Is that your reading as well?
Of course, it's a possibility, because it is very clear that the outcomes of the ICJ court case now on the preliminary measures and later on whatever it is has huge implications for the countries that support Israel in relation to the possibility that they now become implicated with what might be judged as genocidal action, but also at a political level, because they might be adjudged to have supported a wrong cause and therefore squander whatever moral standing they have before the world. And that might offend them, and that might cause them to think about possible ways to fight this. If we can't fight it in court, we can fight it outside court. In court, it is formal. In court, it is orthodox. But outside court, it may not be formal, may not also be orthodox, and therefore possibly also illegitimate and illegal moves, as long as they are deniable, can also be undertaken.
So is there a way that South Africa then can be able to avoid this particular backlash, or is it inevitable in your reading?
It is an assumption that all of us have, those who study political strategy, that when South Africa decided on the move on the ICJ, even when South Africa decided that it would speak out on the Israeli issue and the war in Gaza, that it had already worked out that the response would be negative from superpowers, and that already at the time had decided what it would do should the superpowers respond, should there be a blowback. Now, when we take that very bold step, so taking the case to the ICJ, it's unlikely that you take that one step and you have not calculated all the risks and worked out how you will respond to all the risks. It would be unwise of South Africa not to have calculated how they would, for example, work and prevent intelligence operations to revenge on this, create instability in South Africa, shame South Africa a little bit, and all that. Information warfare or propaganda warfare, which is happening right now in a very big way. It is inconceivable that you could take that step and not also plan about possible other forms of subversion, simply because the Israeli intelligence services are very good at the game of subversion. Now, working with the United States, the notorious CIA, it is known to have toppled regimes in over 40 countries over a year period. So it's inconceivable that you take that step and not take follow-through steps to make sure that the blowback, you are able to contain it, both the formal, legitimate one and the illegal and illegitimate one that big countries always conduct almost all over the world.
Prof, you talk about something very critical, intelligence gathering, and also, knowing what's happening, and so that we're able to get a step ahead. But if we are even getting reports, for example, from, the Human Rights Commission just as recently as, something I can talk about recently, that says that intelligence gathering was quite inadequate, to put it that way, especially during something like the July 2021 unrest. If we're still talking about lapses in that system, inadequacies in that system at a domestic level, then how much of a threat is that, especially when listening to what you're talking about, if we have to do this on an international scale, for example?
It's a consequence of a decline and poor governance, especially in that area of intelligence and security, over a 30-year period. The government's own panel on the state security detailed how systems have collapsed, how the intelligence services have been weakened significantly and compromised from inside mostly, and how they've been diverted to managing party political internal dynamics instead of securing the country, and that therefore both the offensive and defensive intelligence capabilities have been downgraded. One just hopes that in the intervening period, the past 4 or 5 years, serious and very bold and drastic effort has been made to rebuild that capability, because we're going to need that capability against the CIA, against the Mossad, and against the MI5, and all the Western intelligence services that have an interest in responding and fighting back over South Africa's challenge to Israel. And if we have not built up that, then it means we should expect that they may be successful in many ways in undermining the standing of South Africa in order to diminish its ability to continue to fight this thing going forward. Because remember, for South Africa to do what it does, it needed to have a measure of credibility. It needed to have a certain standing. And now if we diminish that standing, it will undermine all its effort. Already, you saw the Israelis are now attacking South Africa for its failure to manage crime internally, issues of corruption, simply trying to diminish its standing, because that is a bearing in the court of public opinion on South Africa's ability to pursue what was step one into step two, step three, step four in relation to Israel's war on Gaza.
Quite interesting insights there, Prof. And as you say, it will also be interesting to see what happens in the UN Security Council tonight, as we will be watching those developments as well. But thank you so much, Prof. Do appreciate it. That was UJ, Professor of Politics, International Relations, Professor Siphamandla Zondi. And remember, on the other side of 6 o'clock, we'll be bringing you the sitting of the UN Security Council. Some of the speakers include Algeria, United States. There's also Mozambique, Sierra Leone, also the Russian Federation. You can expect South Africa as well. So this is one to watch. You heard Sherwin saying that there, of course, will be a lot of focus on the humanitarian crisis that continues to unfold in Gaza right now.